welcome back. It's been a while. Hello to the new subscribers, current subscribers, and viewers. Thank you for joining us. It's been a minute. I am Kat. With me are my two favorite guys, my hubby Buckets, and our dear friend Leon. Good evening, gentlemen.
Evening.
Yeah, hi.
All right, so I don't know if anyone's been keeping tabs or watching. Tonight we're discussing the federal election, and the race has truly begun, and what a mess. First, we're going to take turns answering as fast as we can so that we can shorten this video, but let's go first with Leon. With 30%, 36% of voters now backing Peter Dutton as preferred Prime Minister, compared to 35% of people who supported Anthony Albanese, do you think Peter Dutton is the right person to become our next Prime Minister?
Well, I don't know about Peter Button, but let's see. The issue with the situation is right now, even though Peter Dutton is now the preferred Prime Minister, I think it's for the first time. But the thing is, there's only a 1% difference, and that's 36-35. That would make a total of 71% in total. I've already nailed them votes to the mast, so to speak. The question is, where does the other 29% fall? Now, if I was to guess, because Peter Dutton now has this momentum going upwards and Anthony Albanese's opinion ratings are going down, I would probably suggest that a majority of the 29% undecided will probably fall in Peter Dutton's favour, and that would get him over the line as the actual preferred prime minister. I believe you need a vote a percentage of above 40% to be considered the preferred prime minister. Right now, neither of them have that at the moment, but I would imagine, unless Peter Dutton somehow manages to screw up royally, it would fall to Peter Dutton's, and it will be Peter Dutton's to win. It will also be Peter Dutton's to lose.
I like the way you think. Buckets, please answer the same question. Your answer is, with 36% of voters now backing Peter Dutton as preferred Prime Minister, compared to 36% of people who supported Anthony Albanese, do you think Peter Dutton is the right person to become Prime Minister?
Well, Peter Dutton certainly seems probably the most mature choice, but let's not forget that people from the Labor Party, or would have supported the Labor Party, are jumping on anything that resembles old Labor. So they'll jump on board like the Greens or something like that, or the Teals, or One Nation. In fact, One Nation has never been this popular ever. If you'd asked me 20 years ago, would you vote One Nation? Everyone would have said no. There's no way we would have voted in One Nation. Now everyone's thinking, well, you know what? Maybe One Nation might be a good choice right now. And that, I don't think Pauline Hanson's seen anything like that before. So I think that the only way for Peter Dutton to get into power is he's going to have to make some sort of deal with the independents, and then he'll be in. The independents will not want to make a deal with the Labor Party purely because Albanese has pretty much disgraced his own party to the point where nobody trusts the Labor Party anymore, or a very small percentage trust the Labor Party anymore. And so they're going to have to just go with, well, what can these politicians actually do for me? And I think they will support Peter Dutton on the condition that he asks for the Greens for help, which is a really high possibility. And I think a lot of people will back Pauline Hanson purely because Pauline Hanson won't back the Labor Party. Pauline Hanson will definitely make a deal, or One Nation will definitely make a deal with the Liberal Party for sure. Okay. So that's how I think it's going to roll out. And Peter Dutton will be preferred Prime Minister and will be Prime Minister of Australia for that reason.
I'm going to keep it short and sweet. My answer is Peter Dutton now in the polls is leading the way as preferred Prime Minister. That's one part. Second part is now his policies are starting to appear, right? So he needs to come up with policies that are strengthened by his own party, and he needs to back those policies. And there's a lot of stuff that needs to come to fruition, and here's why I think he will become preferred Prime Minister. And here's the second question. With the coalition's primary vote remaining steady at 36%, do you think that Peter Dutton should start telling the public what his policies will be? For example, rental freeze, how he will bring down inflation, cost of living down, Centrelink boosts, bringing prices of rent down, fining Coles and Woolworths for continued price gouging, and bringing prices down for medication. These are important policies in Australia currently. What do you think, Leon?
Well, right now, the one person that needs to be talking about this is actually not Peter Dutton at the moment. It's Anthony Albanese, because he is the Prime Minister, and under his Prime Ministership, these issues have arisen, and these are biting people hard at the moment, like the cost of living, price. Even though he did say before the election that certain prices he'll keep them low, and it's gone the other way. It's gone upwards instead of downwards. And I know there's going to be a $300 rebate coming in soon to help with the price of electricity. That's going to be gobbled up by Ausgrid, because they're going to start charging people to put money back into the grid, like saving their power. Unless you've got like a solar battery, Ausgrid are going to start charging you to put the solar energy back in the grid. So that's roughly $180 from that $300 rebate gone before you even get it. So that immediately is a backfire, unfortunately, for Anthony Albanese, which was not a bad idea. I know it was a good thought, but Ausgrid have already made that clear that they're going to do this. Now, as far as the Centrelink boosts are concerned, they will always go up while the cost of living situations is going up for the people who are on Centrelink. The prices of the rent at the moment, unfortunately, while the cost of inflation is high, and I believe the Reserve Bank has already mentioned this, while it's as high as it is, they can't see a way that prices are going to come down at the moment. People are still spending too much at the moment. That's that part of it there. And bringing prices down for medication. Well, certain medications have always, there's always been that set of medications which get added to the pharmaceutical benefit scheme. So certain medications can come down, and that list is always being added. So at the moment, I don't believe Peter Dutton needs to reveal much at the moment. However, he does need to reveal the situation with the nuclear power at the moment. Now, he is getting hit from every LNP politician, and even the Teals. He is getting hit by every single one of them regarding location of his potential nuclear reactors, so he can do these nuclear powers. He is getting hit on Twitter by everyone of the opposition. So he needs to come up with some sort of idea about where he's going to put them. I've been hearing Lithgow could be a possible location for nuclear, but at the moment, I know we do have Lucas Heights. That's one, but that's not designed to hold energy, that kind of energy to distribute to houses. I'd like to see, to be honest, I would like to see, nuclear power all over Australia. Now, what I mean by that is because you've got the wind farm, You've got coal. Why not have nuclear? That's a third option, and maybe even hydrogen. That's another form of power as well. Also, your wind farms. So that's 5. I want to see all those, so that way people can make up their own mind what they want to go with. We would be fully sustainable if all of these options are on the table. We can't just hammer down the fact that we need renewables. I get the renewables, but you can't just shut them down just like that. Otherwise, you're going to have rolling blackouts, and that has been warned in the past 10 years.
Hmm. Good answer. Buckets, please answer me this. With the coalition's primary vote remaining steady at 36%, do you think that Peter Dutton should start telling the public what his policies will be? For example, we're looking at rental freeze, how he'll bring down inflation, cost of living, Centrelink boost, bringing prices of rent down, actually finding Coles and Woolworths for continued price gouging and bring prices down for medication, because I know your medication costs a lot of money as well.
Okay, so both sides of Parliament, including the Labor Party and also Peter Dutton, needs to have their eye on cost of living. It's everything at the moment. Okay, it has been cost of living, cost of living, cost of living. People have been angry at the Labor government because he prioritized woke decisions or woke propaganda over cost of living. Everyone was really upset about the amount of millions of dollars that was given for the voice referendum because everyone had a problem with cost of living. So if Labor isn't willing, and it sounds like they're not willing to do a rental freeze, Peter Dutton better well create a rental freeze, because if he doesn't, okay, well, then they'll just go, oh, well, Peter Dutton is just going back to his old tricks again, and they'll want him out as well. So they both have to concentrate on the cost of living and stop doing this woke politics crap. Woke politics is nice for the cameras, but it doesn't solve anything. If you can't produce jobs with what you're doing, or you can't, if you're not easing up the tension on Australian families, then you are a dead duck in the political scheme. You really are. What Albanese has to realize is that he's not a celebrity. He's a politician, and he has a job to do. He gets paid by the Australian taxpayer, okay, to do a job, and his job exists to serve the Australian people. His job does not exist so he can go on international flights and go on party mode or whatever. His job does not exist to look pretty for the cameras. His job exists because he needs to serve the Australian people, and Dutton needs to do exactly the same thing. So what Dutton should be really doing is what not to do, and using Albanese as an example of what not to do. But Albanese is fully aware that if he doesn't actually fix the housing crisis, the cost of living crisis, the employment crisis, if he doesn't fix these problems, then the same fate is going to happen that Albanese will be, which is he'll probably be forced retirement, or he'll be kicked out of office. So he really needs to soul search and go, you know what? I'm just going to give what the Australian people want, and not what and stop whatever Albanese is actually doing now. And I don't see anyone. I think the Australian people are very, very smart. And I think they're just sick of Albanese having a party time whilst everyone is starving.
I like that answer. One thing I want to point out is when we voted in the Labor government, and Anthony Albanese, as Buckets and you have said, is to serve the Australian people. But I'm sorry, forgive me for acting a little bit rotten about this, is that you don't take $450 million out of our defense system to buy 3 Boeing 747 planes and naming them Toto 1. You don't buy 2 or 3 of them and make them luxurious like they're Air Force One planes and flying around the world. I'm sorry, you don't spend $450,000 on the voice of Parliament. I'm sorry, you don't take for granted what we're giving you. We're giving you the house that we are paying for you to stay in currently. It's our taxpayers' money that he doesn't pay rent. He doesn't do his shopping. It all comes to him. To take money out of our defense force, out of our defense system, is a disgusting, immoral thing to do. I mean, what are we going to do when we go to war? Are we just going to, not pay our servicemen and women?
Yeah.
Are we not going to pay their families if
And
God
just-
forbid something happened to them?
And to put it into 2 or 3 planes, okay, when we should be leaving it in defense, because let's be honest, China's just around the corner, okay, and they're actually amping up their military, is a huge waste of taxpayer dollars, massive waste.
It's immoral. And what's worse is that he's never home anymore. It's like when he's home, he's hosting dignitaries. And then when he's not, I mean, we paid for his engagement to our First Lady. We paid our taxpayers' dollars for him to get engaged. We are going to be paying for his wedding. I mean, is this the man for the top job? Or is this Peter Dutton's time now to bring out these policies that Australia really, really needs? Rental freeze, Centrelink boost, putting Coles and Woolworths under pressure and in trouble for continuing price gouging, which I've seen on TikTok. We're talking about rental freezes. With Buckets brought something about saying if he made a deal with the Independents or the Teals. How I could see this working is if he sided with the Teals and the Independents and the Greens, he's got a sure winning hand on them. But what he needs is that deal to come through. I'll scratch my back. I'll scratch your back if you scratch mine. What he needs is Warren Mundine and Jacinta Price on his side backing all these policies.
Yeah, there isn't a doubt in my mind that Jacinta Price and Warren Mundine will be the winner, and I suspect that Peter Dutton will not be using John Howard to get the approval. He'll be using Jacinta Price and Warren Mundine as the backing as to why you should vote in the Liberal Party. Because now it's a new party, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's got brand new policies that would ensure that we're not going to starve.
Exactly.
Anyway, Leon needs a bit of a talk, I think.
Okay, so here's question 3. Leon, are the Labour Party's failed leadership and policies giving way to the Liberal Party a fighting chance to win at the polls in the coming federal election?
Absolutely, they absolutely. Unfortunately, Albanese made some big promises. Obviously, the cost of inflation, he promised to keep that low. That's gone up. The what do you call it? The cost of living, he promised to keep that low. That's going up as well. What else was there? The price of electricity, the price of power. He wanted to keep that low. It's gone up higher than he predicted. He believed that he was going to get 80% of EV cars on Australian roads by 2030 or something like that. I believe right now is it at 8%. So correct me if I'm wrong, but that is roughly 79% off his target. So I believe his target was something like that, but that's not even going to get anywhere near the total that he needs for 2030. So that's EV cars. You did mention taking money out of the Defence Force. What happened when we took money out of the Defence Force? As well, boats started arriving again. And so Peter Dutton could use that against the Labor Party. Well, hang on. Look, you took money from the Defence Force, boats arrived. Now, the Liberal National Party, they stopped the boats. And Anthony Albanese is going to seem like he's the person who brought back the boats. So Peter Dutton's got him on that one. So It is. It's giving some of these major policies that Anthony Albanese has promised have blown up in his face, and everyone is seeing it. And right now, Peter Dutton doesn't have to do it. Peter Dutton really doesn't have to do anything. Just watch this thing go, so he can hammer that home. That's the problem when you make ambitious plans. You need to be You need to be pretty well spot on. But unfortunately, he made the ambitious totals, the ambitious plans, and they haven't got anywhere near what he was hoping. So that's the
I don't know.
problem. He tried the best case scenario, and it's become his worst case scenario.
Good answer. Good tough answer. Buckets, I want to ask you the same thing. Are the Labour Party's failed leadership and policies giving way to the Liberal Party a fighting chance to win at the polls in the coming federal election?
The way I like to see this, right, is if you listed all of the policies, right, and then put them on a dartboard, okay, and basically Peter Dutton's got, the darts and throws it in any direction, okay, he'd win, right? Like literally, you could point to any policy that Albanese has created, and just gone, you failed here, you failed here, you failed here. The planes is a really good one. We'll get him on that. Demonetizing the Defense Force, we can get him on that. Screwing up screwing up TAFE, putting millions and millions of dollars into TAFE, but not having adequate education, we can get him on that. Putting billions of dollars into the voice referendums, whilst most states didn't want it, and then trying to trick councils into bringing it back, and then basically saying, oh yeah, we're going to try to get Makarrata after everyone said no to it. It, like, they could put that dart anywhere and everyone's just going to go, yeah, look, Albanese is not the right leader for us. We thought he was, because we thought he would be better than Scott Morrison, but it turns out that he's not. And look, I remember we actually had a discussion about this, saying, Albanese, all he has to do is literally just show up and people will vote him in, because Scott Morrison has screwed up so badly. Okay, but now the tables have turned, and all Peter Dutton has to do is just show up, because Albanese is screwed up so badly. So it's all going to be in Dutton's favor. But I do believe that if Dutton actually wants real power, he will probably have to deal with all of the independents in order to get in. And the independents will support him to get their policies through, because Labor just simply isn't listening. So that Labor will pay the ultimate price by not listening to the independents, by going, no, we can't make this deal with you anymore. You're refusing to listen to us because you've got majority government. We're going to pick someone else to make sure they do listen to us, and they will. They absolutely will. The Tills will do it. The Greens will do it. One Nation will do it. The Fishermen's and Gun Party will do it. Seriously, every single small party, minor party will do it, and they will all get backing from the Liberal Party.
I think, from my perspective, they now have a strong fighting chance, since they've now been steady at 36%. What's that guy's name on Sky News? The guy you like, Leon?
Paul Murray.
That's one. I was listening to him last week saying that, Anthony Albanese has now made us look really silly on the world stage. He's, I remember he said, like, remembering when tourists used to love coming to Australia. Now we have hardly any tourists who come here because of inflation. And he was saying how Anthony Albanese now needs to sort of take a step back and look at what he's done to this country and hand it over to someone for the people, for all of us. We need someone for all of us that's going to work for all of us, not just work for his or her paycheck. Not just take money from us and feed the rich and give and feed the rich and take it from the poor. Let's have a look at Martin Place in the daytime. Martin Place at daytime, there's a lot of tents. So let's take a look at Hurstville. A lot of people in tents.
People sleeping in cars.
People sleep in cars. Something that needs to be done about this is now. And I think this is what leads into my final question. Leon, is it time that the Liberal Party made a deal with the Greens and the Teals and Independents to win, and not just win, but form a majority government in their own right?
If I was Peter Dutton right now, I would stay away from the Greens with a 10-foot pole right now because they're too busy digging their own bloody holes because you got like the likes of Marine Faruqi, who has been sprouting Semitism, I believe that is the case. Same with Adam Ban. He's the leader of the Greens and he's been going on his anti-Semitic rants as well in Parliament, mind you. So if I was Peter Dutton, I would stay well away from the Greens with a 10-foot pole because that's Labor's problem. So that's be up to Anthony Albanese. Anthony Albanese, you need to pull these guys' heads in because if you don't, they're going to help bury you as well. So and also as far as the Teals go, at the next, I believe it's the next state election in New South Wales, the Teals will already lose one seat because of a redistribution, which meant one of the Teals in, I believe it's near North Sydney or something along those lines, with the redistribution, that Teal will lose her seat straight away without having to defend it. So I feel sorry for her. I can't remember her name, but off the top of my head, but I would stay away from the Greens. It's unlikely that the Teals will side with Peter Dutton because that seems to be like a spin-off of Labor. And then what happened in the last federal election, the Teals went for seats that the LNP were in. They didn't go after seats that the ALP were in. They just went after the LNP seats, and they did take a whole bunch of seats off the LNP last election. Hence why we're in the situation that we are in right now with the ALP being in power. But as far as the Greens go, mate, if I was Peter Dutton, I would say no. That's Anthony Albanese's issue because Anthony Albanese won't stand up to these guys. He won't stand up to the Greens. He won't stand up to the CMFEU boss John Setka, who is right now threatening a go slow on the AFL stadium over there in Tassie. And Anthony Albanese won't pull him in line because, the unions and Labor basically one in the same kind of deal. He won't stand up to John Setka. He won't stand up to Adam Bant. He won't stand up to anybody. What's he got to stand up on? So, no, I'd stay well away from the Greens if I was Peter Dutton.
Here's where I disagree with you.
Go ahead. Let's hear it.
Where I disagree with you because I understand the whole, issue about overseas, which I don't want to bring up. But what I do want to point out is that he needs, how can I say this out of love, and kindness and empathy.
If you don't have to.
This is where I disagree because I feel that if Peter Dutton can strike a deal with the Greens when it comes to things like rental cap or rent freeze or bringing the price of rentals down and price gouging, these are very important things in this country. And if he can speak to them and they speak to him and say, listen, we need a rental cap and a rental freeze. If you become prime minister, will you support us in this agenda? Will you bring it to the table? If you bring it to the table, we'll happily support you. We'll endorse you for prime minister. We can partner up and do a lot with the rental caps, the rental freeze, prices of rent going down. We can help with mortgages. If you just side with us on these issues and bring it into Parliament and have a discussion about it, bring it into law, enforcing that rental freeze can happen. This way, people who are needing to move and pay for rent won't suffer the consequences of paying $800 to $900 a week, even $700 a week on rent. Because if Peter doesn't scratch the Greens back, the prices of rent and mortgages and first home buyers is going to go up, and everybody's not going to have a home for the rest of their lives. Everybody's going to live in tents or in their cars, and this is why I beg to differ, because I think it's important to look at renters like us, homeowners. You know, I'm not gonna I keep cycling, but that's what I think why I disagree, because I think that they're very important.
This is how I see it, right? The Greens can bellyache about Israel for as long as they want to, okay? But none of them have the guts to invade Israel. None of them. They will yell and scream and parade and go on strike and have their protests in Martin Place and say things like gas the Jews, etc. But none of them have the guts to declare war on Israel. None of them. And they never will either. They're only doing this because right now
It's popular.
it's popular, but I don't see them, okay, attacking Israel or attacking Jews for that matter
But
at any period of time.
But that's not what we're talking about.
You know, but I'll bring it in, right? If they didn't have any sort of stance with the Israeli-Palestinian war, and you stripped all that stuff down, their policies with the rental freeze is really the only one that actually matters, to be honest. That is the only one that actually matters, the rental freeze one. And that's what people will vote the Greens in for. They're not going to be voting them in because they want to see oil have a tax excise. That's not the reason why they're going to be voting them in. They're going to be voting them because they want a rental freeze. Okay. This is what basically makes One Nation really favorable right now, because they don't want a war with Palestine or Israel for that matter, but they recognize that a fuel excise is actually destroying business. Okay, but they want a rental freeze as well. Okay, so there's all these independent parties that all want rental freezes. Okay, but it's what type of issue do you want? So again, like I said, like they can all say, hey, we support Palestine, or we support Israel, or this is anti-Semitic, or this isn't anti-Semitic, or whatever, but no one wants to go to war with Israel or Palestine for that matter. Okay, how does this actually matter to the Labour Party? Guess what? The Labour Party doesn't want to go to war with Israel either. Okay, they just don't want to supply them. So they'll bitch and bellyache about Israel and say all these anti-Semitic things, but they don't want to go to war against Israel either.
But what we're saying is nothing to do with the war overseas. What we're saying is the rental caps and the rental freezes.
But that's what links them all together. The only thing that links all of the independents together is the freeze, the rental freeze. And Labor's not listening to that, but perhaps Dutton will. Right? So if basically One Nation, the Teals, the Greens all say to the Liberal Party, pass the rental freeze and we'll vote for you. Okay. What do you think the Liberal Party is going to do? They're going to make an alliance with the Greens, the Teals, and One Nation, and we'll go, okay, that's fine. You support me, and that's it.
Just bring it into law, because just to say one more thing is that people like Philip and myself who are getting married shortly. I mean, I've always imagined getting married and being in my own home, in our own home. And that's not the case, because people like myself and Philip in our lifetimes may or may not be able to, in the coming future, buy a home, a first home owner's house and live in it. And I feel like the Australian Labor Australian Labour Party, pardon me, is stopping me from that because it's just, they've just ruined it. They've ruined the dream, so to speak. That's what I think.
Well,
But anyway,
like, I mean, you're talking about like the Australian dream, but I feel that everything they're doing is so un-Australian.
yep.
I mean, like I remember when the Labor Party said that they would make medication as low as $13.50, and now it's gone up to $21.
Yeah.
So our lives have not gotten cheaper under the Labor Party. If anything, they've actually become more expensive.
It's getting more difficult under Albanese.
In fact, under the Liberal Party actually, although everyone hated Scott Morrison was making us rich. He was giving us stacks of money. So, I mean, Scott Morrison definitely had his faults, such as robo-debt and whatnot. But under Scott Morrison, we were getting lots and lots of money under him, whereas we're losing money under Albanese.
Final thoughts, Leon?
No, I think we pretty much all said our piece. Well, yeah, I know that the Greens wanted a rental freeze, but at the moment, people are not going to be thinking about the rental freeze. They're going to be thinking about the likes of Adam Bandt's most recent commentary. They're not going to be thinking about a rent freeze. They're going to be thinking about his anti-Semitic remarks lately. And I wouldn't be surprised if Peter Dutton nails that, if he rams that fact home. The Greens will probably try to promote rental freeze as their way of getting votes, but I wouldn't be surprised if you see the LNP run the anti-Semitic line against Adam Bandt and also the Greens.
Fair enough.
Can I say something like that? I think it's the opposite. I think when people come down to it, when people come down to quote unquote feeding their families and wondering if they can basically have a roof over their heads and feed themselves or even being employed and stuff like that, I think they'll think, well, anti-Semitism is horrible, but not having the ability to feed my family is worse. Okay.
I could see that, yeah.
Yeah. So I think anti-Semitism is horrible. I do. Okay. I don't like it. I'm a Catholic, so therefore I will always support the Jews. But I need to feed my family, and the Labor Party is making that difficult for me. So that's why I'm saying people will care more about the food going into their bellies more than whatever Adam Bandt is basically saying about the Jews, or Pauline Hanson is saying about the Palestinians. Like, it's like, okay, well, this has really got nothing to do with me. I need to feed my family.
And I'm really, there's one more last thing, please don't be mad at me for saying this, but it's kind of like Anthony Albanese is saying 4 words without really saying those 4 words. And I know you guys usually laugh at me for saying that, but it's a horrifying feeling and a really frightening feeling to know that these 4 strong words are lurking in our country, and it's kind of being used against our will or against us. And I'm not going to say those 4 words because they're very frightening. But I think you both know what they are.
No, I don't. I don't know. Well, I don't know.
Elaborate.
Well, you could type it to us afterwards, and then
No.
judging it
The
later.
people need to hear it. Straight.
I don't want to be cancelled for this, but it's MAGA.
Oh,
That's
right.
not cancelable. That's not cancelable. Make America great again, or make Albanese gone again.
It's like you saying make Australia great again without saying make Australia great again.
Can we just get some MAGA macaroni and cheese?
You're not gonna get cancelled for that. That's for sure.
I would like some MAGA macaroni and cheese.
I'm just saying that these 4 words, and I've heard him say something along the lines of, I want to make Australia a better country.
Well, that'd be Marlborough, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Make
but
Australia
he
better
didn't want to
again.
say, "Oh, I want to make Australia great again." He goes, "I'm just wanting to make Australia greater again." And it's
I've
sort of
heard
like
that.
an
I've
echo,
heard that slogan. That slogan's not going to be cancelable. You don't
no,
need to worry about that.
but on YouTube because they're very finicky. But I just
So, to be honest, so is Facebook. Facebook, you say the wrong things slightly, and Meta will put you in a Facebook jail for a month. I should know. I've been a month prisoner.
but that's all I want to say is it's those four very frightening words.
It's
Are
not
loaded.
frightening, Cat.
Well, for you,
YouTube thinks it's frightening, and so does Facebook, ironically.
a lot of people might not.
Oh no, not MAGA.
A lot of
Oh,
a lot of people don't find that frightening, but for someone like me, who feels that Australia is becoming a totalitarian dictatorship, is
you know what? I think
It's frightening.
Australia is becoming more like 1984.
yeah.
I think it's right now Australia is becoming really close to 1984. And an example of that is by censoring everything. But look, I don't see us coming anywhere near Donald Trump's MAGA cults, to be honest, or not in a wide scale, to be perfectly honest. There might be some things that people agree with Donald Trump on or disagree with Donald Trump on, but I don't see Australia is going to become anything like that. I do see Australia being like an apartheid country, but that's about it.
The last thing I want to ask, and that is to the newest subscribers and viewers and current subscribers, our question to you is, who do you think or believe is the right person to lead this country? Peter Dutton or current incumbent sitting Prime Minister Anthony Albanese? Leave your comments down, leave your opinions down in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and like our channel. Let us know how you think and feel. Thank you for the latest comments we've been receiving, and to the new subscribers that have been clicking on. Thank you so much. When you click the bell, it helps us to get more content out to you. We miss you and we thank you very much for support. Get your friends to join. Let us know what you think. That is us for the evening. Thank you so much. This has been quite educational for a small person like myself. With me tonight has been Buckets and Leon. Thank you guys. Please stay safe and stay warm, Australia, and wherever you are. Hi, and thank you for watching. Peace out. Bye.
Bye.